Okay, welcome back to the Unity 2D platform gaming tutorial from James, that's me, in Unity. This is part 9. I recommend watching the first 8 parts. In today's tutorial we're going to talk about boundaries and game limits. So let's go ahead and get started. Right now we have our game set up with our camera. The rotation is locked and we can follow our player, and we have moving platforms along with a gap and a moving platform to get over that gap. We've used the first person controller so that we can stay on platforms and run our little game here. So when I talk about game limits, what I mean is that when the game starts and you want your player to go right, he's going to go right. That's fine. What happens if your player decides that it's a good idea to go left? There's nothing here to stop him from just falling off of the world. And the same with the giant hole on the right hand side of the game with the platform over it. If I jump off this hole here, I just fall off into space and keep falling infinitely. There's nothing there to stop me. Okay, so we need to put up some walls. Now, in the past, I've made the I guess metaphor or analogy of the game being built like a sandwich. So I guess you could say right now we're going to build the crust, the part that keeps the bread where it should be. It keeps all the pieces in there, okay, inside the game. If you don't want it going a certain direction, put up a barrier, and that's what we're going to make today. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a game object. Let me center my screen here on the main camera. Actually, let's make it on the player and zoom out. And we're going to do a game object to create other cube. Simple object. Now we're going to scale the cube vertically on the Y. You can either drag up these little handles or you can just set it vertically in the Y right here to, let's just say 40. Now you'll notice if I go to the side view here, it's a pretty skinny barrier, right? So to make sure that everything stays inside where it should be, enemies and otherwise, we're going to go ahead and scale that on the Z as well to probably say 20. Alright, and then what we're going to do, because we don't want it to be seen by the camera, which right now it can't be because it's, there it is, it's just too far out. We don't want it to be seen by the camera. What we're going to do is just turn off the mesh renderer. Okay? And then we're going to go ahead into our frontal view here and just drag it over to the right and set it. And so now that is a barrier that our player cannot walk through. He will run into it and cannot leave. So we're going to rename this cube to barrier. Okay? So our barrier object, which I just had and just renamed and it did not stick. Okay, there we go. We get to press enter after you're done with the name. So we've got our barrier here, and if we play our game, we move our player over, you can see in the scene view he'll reach that point and he'll just stop. He can't go that far. Now we can see off the edge over here, so we can actually adjust our barrier so that the player can't see that far. And now he stops. Well, I guess he can still see the edge, but we can move the floor around or put up a wall or something like that if we need to. Okay? The other option we have with this cube is to readjust the size. We can actually just set these back to 1, so it's a flat cube. Turn the mesh renderer back on. If I zoom in on the cube here, what we can do is actually apply a material we've already used, such as the girder 00. Okay, or we can create a new one for the wall if we want to. Now what I'm going to do, so that they can actually see the wall, they don't just stop in the middle of nowhere for no reason, they can actually see the wall. What I'm going to do is go ahead and rotate this 90 degrees on the Z. Now you can either use the rotate tool and do it by hand, or for a more accurate, you can come over here in the Z and just say -90. Okay? Now when we scale it up using the scale tool, you can see we're actually scaling it on the X, okay? On the X axis. And I'm going to change the material to the floor girder and make this so it's a bit bigger. Okay, and then drag it over here to the right, and now they can actually see that there's a wall there. So they'll understand why they've stopped. Oh, I forgot one last thing is that we have to make sure that it's thick on the Z, so we'll change that Z back up to 20 so that the player can't move past it. If you also want the player to recognize that this is going to stop them, you should have it overlap the floor. So I'm going to go ahead and move that forward until it blocks the floor there, and then when the player runs into it, they can see, oh, there's a barrier there. That's obviously a wall I can't get past, which makes sense because I can't jump through these girders. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to jump through that one, and so I can go on playing my game. Okay, so that's the first limitation. The next limit we're going to put in is the ceiling. Now this is basically the exact same. So we can actually control duplicate the or control D on our barrier, move it over here, and then what we can do is just adjust it by rotating it back on the Z to 0. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and move it up on the level so it looks like it's attached to our crane is attached to it. Just set that right there. And there you go. Now you'll notice that this doesn't have a shadow and neither does the wall. Now the wall might not have a shadow because it appears that the light is coming down from the top. So if you really want to be that exact with the lighting, what you can actually do is take this barrier, delete it, and just move or duplicate the floor and move it up. And now it has this shadow which overcasts onto the crane and everything looks realistic. And we can move that over so that everything lines up. And let's readjust our floors so they line up with the walls and our other floor here. We can move over and the platform to cover the gap. Okay, and we can duplicate our ceiling again and drag it over until it just covers. So in Mario, in some of the dungeons, you can actually jump above the map. So what we can do is actually make it so the player can do that by adjusting the world and moving our vertical platform here over. So now when we play the game, you cannot run through this wall. And let me just adjust this so you can actually see the ceiling. I'm going to move this platform and duplicate it and put it over there. Let's see if we can jump up there now. We can jump up. Oh, it's a bit too high. No. We're just doing some gameplay testing. That's what this is. Okay, so now if we try it, we can walk under it and we can jump over it. And oh, that one's too tall too. Let's just move it down a little bit, and then come over here to the game and jump up again. And now you can see that there's a ceiling. Now instantly when players see things like this, sense Mario, they'll want to get above it. If they've played Mario or any game, you've already taught them that they can move vertically. So in their mind they're saying, I can move right, I can move up. So their goals are going to be to move right or to move up. That's what's in their mind. Can I get above that? I can obviously stand on these girders. Can I stand on the other ones? And that's just going to be playing out in their mind endlessly. Is how do I get up there? Because if I can get up there, I can just run past the rest of the map, skip the bad guys, and anything to make life easier is a pursuit. They're going to do it. So if we play our game, and I jump here, and I jump up here, and I jump up here, oh, I can't get up there. Oh, so I need to find a hole somewhere so I can get up there. So I'm going to fall down. Let's keep moving to the right. Oh, we got a platform here, and oh, I can't jump on that. So now I'm going to sit here and wait till the timing's right. Oh, and see if I can get up onto that platform. Almost had it. And this game is actually fun to me already. Now, there are a couple other limits we can put in the game. We can put in a max jump ceiling. Basically just the same way we put in the floor or the wall. Just put it in here and the player can't go past it. But there is one limit that we absolutely need to put in the game if there's going to be holes in the floor. Just like when I fell off the left side, if I fall down this hole, I'm going to fall forever. So what we need to do is put in an area, a limit at the bottom. If the player falls down the hole, we want them to reset at this position, back at the beginning of the game, or maybe back where they were before they fell off the hole. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a game empty. Game object create empty. We're going to attach it to our first person controller, and we're going to call this spawn point. Okay, we're going to go to the little gear over here and a reset position, and then we're going to deactivate it or detach it from the first person controller. So this is the point at which the player is going to spawn. Okay, the next thing we need to do is create a prefab of the controller so we can create a new one at that position. We're going to go to Assets, right click, and create prefab. Now this prefab we're going to call player, and we're going to drag our first person controller on top of it. Okay, so now we've got this game guy and he is a prefab. So what we're going to do, and this is going to be tricky, I mind you, very tricky, is we're going to make a script, and when the first person controller dies, that target is going to disappear on the camera. So what we're going to do is immediately respawn a new player, move the camera back to the spawn point, and reset the target with the new game object. Okay, so let's go into our scripts. We're going to right click and create a JavaScript, and we're going to call this player respawn. Okay, if we open that up in MonoDevelop, okay, what we're going to do to start is we're going to need a couple of objects. We're going to say var player is a game object. This is just so that we can make a new player. We're going to need the respawn point, so we're going to say var spawn point. This is going to be a transform with a capital T. Transform. Okay? And we're going to try to reference the camera without a variable. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but we're going to give it a try. Okay? So at start, we're not really going to do anything in there. And we're probably not going to do anything in the update either. What we're going to use is function on trigger enter. This is probably new to you, but I will discuss why we're using on trigger enter when we get back into Unity. The floor that we're going to put underneath the level is going to be a box, much like the other boxes, except you're going to be able to walk into it, and then it's going to activate this code. Okay, if you don't understand triggers, I have a video out there on triggers on my channel. I recommend going to watch it. It's very educational and fun. So let's get started with this. On trigger enter, what we're going to do is kill the current player. We're going to say when the trigger gets entered, we're going to grab other, and then we're going to make a collider. Okay, we're going to say destroy other dot game object. Okay, so we can test this right now, actually, just this script all by itself. As we're stepping through it, we'll make sure that it compiles correctly. What we're going to do is grab one of these floors. Actually, you know what, let's just make a new cube. Game object, create other cube, and we're going to drag it down the area we want, use the scale tool, and expand it all the way across the map. I know what you're thinking, oh, well, we just need to cover the whole, but if for any reason at all the player figures out a way to fall through the floor, we need to be able to reset that. Okay, so we're going to just drag it all the way across, and then we're going to set the Z to 30 so that it spans all the way. Okay, we don't want the player to be able to see this area, and we're going to need it a little bit thicker, so we're actually going to set the Y to 10. We're going to move it down, and then we're going to turn off the mesh render. In the box collider, we're going to click is trigger. So this will cause our on trigger enter code to execute. Okay? Right. So now we're going to grab our player respawn script, put it on here, drag our player object, which is in our prefab here, and our spawn point here. So now when we play the game, we shouldn't get any errors, and if I run over here and fall in the hole, you see we get an error from the camera because the target has disappeared. Okay? So that part's working. Now what we need to do is create a new player. So we're going to say var p, which is of type game object, is equal to instantiate, which is a fancy programming terminology for make a new one of these. We're going to make a new player. We're going to set its position at spawn point dot position, and we're going to make its rotation what it should standardly be by saying quaternion dot identity. Okay? So that should create a brand new player at the spawn point position. But what we need to do next is go ahead and let's test this script, because we're testing it one step at a time. We've got our player, we've got our spawn point, so if we press play, actually, oh, I misspelled instantiate. Now let's try it. There we go. There's an N in there, folks. Instantiate. Okay, let's go ahead, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move my player over here, just so that you guys don't have to watch me walk half a mile to get there. So the player spawns, and we fall down the hole, and he dies. But you see we get a new player. But the camera is still trying to access the original one, so what we need to do is give the camera the new player to stare at. So we're going to say camera dot main dot, actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to need that script, so we're going to say var sf, that's for smooth follow, is equal to camera dot main dot get component smooth follow 2. So now we've grabbed the smooth follow script. So what we need to do is in the smooth follow 2 script, we need to change this target to our new game object. Okay, but you can see target is set as a transform and not as a game object. Okay, well, instantiate creates game objects, not transforms. So this is where the data types of Unity get to be a little tricky. So what we're going to say is sf dot target is equal to p dot transform. So we're going to grab our new player object here. We're going to grab its transform property and assign it to the smooth follow to target after we've destroyed the old one. So if we save this and we try to run this game and we fall down the hole, our new player is spawned, the camera flies over, and we try it once again. Run over and fall in the hole, and we respawn again. Now the cool thing about doing it this way is that we have a spawn point, right? If for any reason, let's say we put in a trigger over here, let's just go ahead and do it. Actually, you know what, we'll save that for next time. Checkpoints. How to move your spawn point for checkpoints in the game so the player doesn't have to repeat the entire level over and over and over again. Okay, so we're going to leave off here. We've gone ahead and put in a couple of barriers. We've made a roof. We've added the moving platforms, and we've made the kill box or the death zone when the player falls in a hole and respawn the player. That's an awful lot. This is probably going to be a quite long video. We were just supposed to talk about limits, but the bottom area is a limit, so we've gone ahead and done that. Thanks for watching, and while the credits roll out, I'm going to try and get back on this platform. Thanks for watching.